Wow, I wasn't even recording. I literally recorded half of this video and I wasn't recording. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Farooqi. My name is Tired and it's time to go to bed. Nah, I'm playing. Anyways, what you guys think about this necklace, by the way? It's so convenient. Just attach a chain to your mask and then whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, sorry. I'll link the chain down in the description in case you're interested. Mask doesn't come with it, by the way. I had to learn that the hard way. By the way, I hope that you guys could ignore this huge ass testicle growing out of my right eye. It's a chalazion. I don't feel like explaining what it is, but it's nothing crazy. It doesn't hurt. It's just there. I'm probably going to need surgery for it. So just for now, stop paying attention to it. Just don't look at it. Just please. Hey, stop it. Okay, anyways. Today we're going to be talking about the reality of there being no such thing as free will. Now, I'm sure most of you might have come across this topic one way or another, different takes about it. I don't know if you've heard the take I'm about to talk about yet, but let's talk about it. Now, I've been thinking about this theory for the past for a while, and I tend to do that when I come across some new philosophical epiphanies. I can't stop thinking about it for months at a time until I come across a new one, and this one's really just got me really deep into it. I really kind of fuck with this a lot, but I don't know if you guys will. Warning, this kind of gets into like existentialism territory, and if that's not for you, click off of this video. Maybe go watch my Get Out video or Why You Need to Leave video or something. I don't know. So yeah, we're gonna talk about why I'm starting to believe that there's no such thing as free will. Now, in the beginning, when I first started getting into it, I was like kind of like half serious about it, half joking, but the more I think about it, the harder it is for me to argue. And I'm like, all right, so let's get into it. So we are going to go through different levels of this idea. We're gonna talk about it on a philosophical and or societal level. Then we're gonna go to the neurological level, and then we're also gonna go into physics, right? We're gonna take it from big step, middle step, lower step, whatever. And then we'll talk about it after in the comment section if you guys want to be peaceful, I guess. So anyways, why do I believe that there's no such thing as free will? Now let's get the obvious out of the way. We are not in control of what family we're born into, what color we're born as. We're not in control of what economic status we're born into. We're not in control of where we're born, and also we're not in control of our genetics and who raises us. There's already a lot that is being determined for us. Now, when I say determined, I don't mean by a God, I don't mean by science. You know, I'm not trying to get into religious territory. If you want to believe God, then yes, you are being determined by God. If you don't want to believe God, then you are being determined by whatever the universe has put forth to you. If you don't want to think spiritually at all, you are being raised, and there's a lot of things that are being determined by science and whatever. Who the fuck cares? Anyways, there's a lot that's not in your control. And so obviously, when you're being raised, you're being molded by your environment, by your parents or your guardian and or your friends, and there's a lot that you're being exposed to, a lot of things that somebody that on the other side of the country isn't being exposed to probably, and they're being exposed to something completely different, right? So that's the obvious part. There's a lot of things that condition us to be the way we are. There's genetics that play into it. Me being a brown American, Pakistani brown American, makes my experience as an American completely different from a white American or a black American. Everybody has their own privileges. Everybody has their own forms of systemic oppressions, except for white people. Sorry. You know, obviously, I think brown people have it a lot easier when it comes to systemic oppression and systemic racism. Not that we don't face it, of course we do, but I think that different groups of people have their different forms of societal and systemic oppressions, and other groups of people have their own privileges. And obviously we grow up within those systems. We get conditioned in that mindset, we normalize it, blah blah blah. It definitely molds our mind one way or another. On top of that, you also look at genetics. The fact that, you know, some people are born with disabilities and some people are much more healthier, right? And it could be a minor disability. It could just be the fact that you need glasses. The fact that I need the glasses at a very young age, around 5 years old, already changes the way I look at the world. Not too much, obviously. It's a very minuscule thing, but the more different levels of conditioning you add up at a younger age, the more it's going to have an influence on you as you're growing older. You know, it's, they think of it as like angles. Like, you know, you could be right over here, like one straight angle, and you could have whatever come in the way, maybe the fact that you need glasses, it moves it just a little bit, or and then on top of that, add that you're a brown American, and maybe you don't like the way you look, or maybe you love the way you look, it changes the way you look at yourself. You know, you're kind of diverging from your starting point as you're growing older in your early years, and as you go about life and you get older, you notice a difference within the angle more and more. You notice the difference between your starting point and the path that you're going on more and more as you get older, and as the angles kind of not open up, because angles, if it's an angle, it's gonna stay, but y'all know what I mean, hopefully. So that's the most basic level we can look at it as. You're already not in control of much. You're not in control of where you grow up. You're not in control of who raises you. You're not in control of how you perceive yourself, because you could be a beautiful person and be obsessed with yourself. It's going to change the way you look at yourself, because people are going to treat you different. Pretty people privilege, something like that, right? I think it's what it's called. Or you could just be completely unhappy with the way you look, and that's also going to change the way you look at the world and yourself. And it's going to, you know, these little things are incremental, but they add up the older you grow, and the more it's going to affect the way you look at the world. And on top of that, some people are more prone to depression. Some people have ADHD. Some people have anxiety issues. Some people are just neurotypical, and that totally, you know, changes the way you look at the world as you're growing older. So, all right, we got the basics out of the way. I know the next level I talked about is the neurological level, but we're gonna skip that and then go to the physics level, and we'll come back to the neurological one. Now, I am by no means a physicist. I am not a mathematician. I am not a chemist. So take what I'm about to say with any amount of suspicion that you want. Do your own research, and if you are one of those people who is a physicist, a chemist, or whatever, you know, comment down below how much I got wrong, how much you agree, and your take on what I'm about to say, right? Through mathematics and science, I feel like the more we know about something, the more we're able to accurately predict what it's about to do. You know, you look at it on a universal scale. We look at the moon, the stars, and the planets. You know, once we figure out the mass and maybe what orbital system it's in, and also the speed it's moving at, we can accurately predict where it's about to end up at what time. And if we know more about the objects near it, then we can see what might cross its path, what might stay away, and how its path can get affected when considering other objects that might cross its path. And the more we know about it, the more we're able to accurately predict. That's how we know what phase the moon is going to be. I don't know why Muslims have such a hard time when it comes to Eid. Like, bro, like, just... Anyways, but yes, we're able to accurately predict what the moon is going to look like. That's how much of an understanding we have. And, you know, the more we understand about other things through the laws of physics, we can understand what it's about to do and accurately predict where it's about to go. Now, let's apply that rule on everything in the quantum level. It's pretty obvious we don't know everything about everything, right? We're probably never gonna know everything about everything. We're humans. There's only so much we can understand. Maybe the more evolved human being in a few thousand years, or maybe a few 100,000 years, if we live that long, might get a grasp of what we're about to talk about. But for the most part, we don't understand everything. We don't know what connects quantum mechanics and general relativity. Okay, general relativity, like space-time curvature, all that stuff, which is basically, if you don't know, it's the laws of physics for everything big, all the things on a universal scale. Those laws don't translate well into quantum mechanics when we start looking at atoms and quarks and protons, electrons, and all that stuff. They don't. There's a gap there, and obviously the laws that work in the quantum mechanics, they don't translate well in the bigger picture. So long story short, we don't know much. By the way, I'm being very vague with when I'm explaining this stuff, not because I'm being vague, but because I'm also giving you a forewarning. I don't study this stuff. I don't know everything about it. So please do your own research. Don't just believe me. And also, this is just what my mind is coming up with. So the idea is, hypothetically, say that we could come to a place, or maybe not us, but just talking about the information that's out there. Say that there's information that connects the quantum mechanics world to the general relativity world, because we understand everything about everything. We know every attribute that all the quantum particles have and all their traits. so much so we can accurately understand and mathematically predict what that particle is about to do and how it's going to interact with the next particle, and there, so on and so forth. So what if, hypothetically speaking, we just understood everything about everything? If I know if there's a quantum particle over here, and if there's a quantum particle over here, and they're two different types of particles, one moves this way and one moves that way, but likes to come around, it's very whatever, I don't understand. But like, if we know everything about this and we know everything about that, then we can probably accurately predict what it's about to do and where it's about to go and what this is about to do and how it might clash with this one. And then because we know everything about everything, then we'd also understand what kind of chemical compound it will create and how that chemical compound or that atom, whatever the you want to call it, will react with the next quantum particle and or chemical compound, and so on and so forth. And another way to look at it as, it's like plugging in all the rules, you know, in a timeline, in a simulation timeline, right? You plug in all the rules, boom, bam, boom. You plug in all the physics, laws of physics and rules, and you hit the go button on the computer, and you just watch everything just kind of come into itself. It's kind of mathematically predicted. So say that we have all this knowledge, or it's knowledge that might not ever be touched by us, knowing everything about everything, how things behave in the third dimension, moving through the fourth dimension of time in one way or another. Actually, if you're looking at it from a higher dimension, it's not too difficult for me to accept that there's probably no such thing as free will, because things are already planned out to become what they're meant to become. We look at the particles about 13.8 billion years ago. That's when we estimate the universe was created, right? Let's take everything we understand about everything hypothetically, and we can accurately predict what it's about to become and create and form into within the next 13.8 billion years. Fast forward, we have the Earth, we have everything that the Earth is made of, we have all of the humans and all of the quantum particles that the human bodies are made of, and everything else in the universe as well. Basically, I heard this from one of the people who doesn't believe in free will either. I forgot his name, but we are the totality of everything that the universe has created before us up until this point of where I am sitting right now. I am basically the manifestation of all of the chemical reactions that has taken place within the past 13.8 billion years, and so are you, so is this camera, so is the lighting, blah blah blah, so on and so forth, right? And then we combine that with our understanding that, you know, so on a societal level, we also don't have much free will, because everything that we're influenced, did I just spit? That's disgusting. Everything that we're influenced by when it comes to how we're being raised, the color of our skin, and the norms that are imposed onto us or that we grew up in, cultural norms, religious norms, systematic norms, are all just products of chemical reactions that took place in a very complex pattern, and also a very complex timeline, and it all adds up to where we are today. And on top of that, if we were able to mathematically understand everything about everything on the quantum level, we would also be able to understand what it's about to become in the future, where I'm about to go, right? And then you must be thinking, well, I can still decide to stand up or decide to sit down. I could decide to wave my hand, so therefore I have free will. No, the fuck you don't. And then let me explain. The only reason why I'm telling you about this is because I have a very specific chemical structure in my brain, and it reacts very specifically to certain things, and it just so happened to feel very, very, very infatuated or inspired and blown away by this specific idea that it feels like it needs to talk about it with other people. And I'm talking about it because I wasn't in control of the information that's given to me, and I wasn't in control how I was going to react to it, and I ended up reacting very positively to it, and it has brought me to talk about it with anyone and everybody I'd want to talk about it with. And like I brought up before, you might argue I could wave my hand if I want to. I do have free will. You're only waving your hand because you came across information that tells you that you don't have any free will, and so you felt compelled to believe that you do have it, and to prove it, you waved your hand. But you wouldn't have waved your hand if I didn't tell you that you don't have free will. And on top of that, you also only waved your hand is because that's how your brain has processed the information of you not having free will. There was a bunch of chemical reactions that underwent in your denial of it, if you deny it, and it's kind of forced you to conclude that you do have free will. In order for you to prove it, you have to wave your arm. Drink some water. I'm getting thirsty. See, I'm not in control of how thirsty I am. I have to drink some water. Good. And this also kind of relates to a lot of therapy sessions. And if you're someone who suffers from depression, low serotonin levels and low dopamine levels can easily skew the way you look at the world. You can have more fatalistic ideologies. You easily end up in moments where you think, what's the point? I'd rather not be here. And the reason why I feel comfortable saying this is because obviously as we've discussed before on this channel, I also do suffer from depression. And in therapy, we often talk about how you are not your thoughts, right? Whenever you come into a point where you start entertaining the idea that you shouldn't be here, one coping mechanism we use, or one fact, I guess you want to say, you understand that you are not what your thoughts are becoming. The only reason why you're thinking this way, that you want to end things, is because of the low serotonin levels. If you had higher serotonin levels, then you wouldn't be thinking that way, or you'd be a little bit further away from that ideology. Now that we've kind of built up the philosophical / societal level of it, and we've also built up a little bit of the physics level of it, I want to go on a more neurological level. Now there was this TED Talk by I think it was a TED Talk. It was a conference where Neil deGrasse Tyson, another physicist, and I think another neurologist were talking. I don't remember exactly everybody's names, but I will be sure to link that down in the description. But basically what they were doing, they were explaining that there was a test that was done. A bunch of neurologists, in a albeit very controlled environment, had sat down a couple test subjects and asked them to make a choice, right? I don't know what they were choosing. I don't remember the details of the experiment, but there was multiple choices, and basically the neurologists were measuring brain activity before the choice was made, and all the activity leading up to the choice that was being made. With about 85% accuracy, the neurologists were able to figure out what you were gonna choose before you even thought about doing it. That fucking blows my mind. That makes me feel like the more we would know about the brain, and the more we can understand the chemical interactions that take place inside our brain and within our body composition, the more we could accurately predict what we're about to think and what we're about to do. For me, that was kind of enough. I'm like, shit, like, I am not in complete control of what I am about to do. Yes, I have the illusion that I can make the choice to control what I can, but I still understand that just because I have controlled what I thought I could control, and I have manipulated what I thought I could manipulate, I am still only acting within the limitations that the universe on a quantum level and the universal level has presented to me, right? And I'm only doing what my brain is allowing me to. I'm only doing what my brain is capable of. I was talking about this theory with a couple of cinematographers. They're both some of my closest artist friends, and we talk about philosophy here and there. And I brought this up, and as I was talking about the theory, they were completing the sentences for me like they already knew what I was talking about. Basically, I was saying exactly what I'm talking about right now. Through mathematics, we can predict the future. But he argued, no, it's not that the future is predictable. It's that everything, like we talked about, is laid out in terms of its laws of physics and quantum mechanics. And it's not that we are predicting the future. It's that we have a better understanding of the universe realizing itself. The more we understand what's about to happen, the more the universe is realizing itself and growing and coming into what it was always meant to become. Now, one can argue like, oh, it, like if there's no such thing as free will, I might as well just sit here and rot. And listen, if that's how you take that information and that's how you were supposed to react to it, then I mean, that's what was meant for you, I guess. And you could try to prove that rotting wrong, like fine, I'm not gonna rot, I'm just gonna get up and do something with my life and prove it wrong. Well, that's also the result of how your brain is handling this information, and it's feeling compelled to do what it has to do to react the way it wants to react. But my point is, because I grew up how I grew up, I met the people that I met, I grew up in the environments I grew up, I went to college where I went to college, I had glasses at the age I had. All of these little things have all brought me to this point where I'm sitting in this chair talking to you right now, and there's more to come. There's more that's going to influence me, that's gonna make me make another decision. But the point is, I'm not in control of any of it. And this does get into a little bit of dark territory. Like, I would never go around telling people you don't have free will, because I can't imagine how that information would be processed if you've lived a whole life of unfortunate events. I can't imagine how that shapes your mind as well. So there's a lot of different dynamics that goes into the processing of this theory. and I just happen to be someone who took it well, right? I'm also not in control of the fact that I took it well, because I've been groomed and I've been conditioned the way I have been. And so depending on how you're taking this idea, you might take it well, you might not, and it's not your fault if you don't take it well, and it's also not your fault if you do take it well. You just playing your role into society as it is. And so at the end of the day, we're all fulfilling a very specific role that the universe has set out for us. Now, when I say that, I'm implying that I know that sounds like it's implying that there's a God, that there's consciousness. Not necessarily. I mean, we could take it that way, especially if you're religious. In Islam, we talk a lot about how everything is written for us, and this theory does support that. You know, things are kind of written to be and to become what they are meant to become, right? But even if you're not religious, it's still, you don't have to look at it as the universe is becoming what it's meant to become and what it's set out to be. Things are just growing into what they were destined to be from the very beginning, like predeterminism. So we could take it that way as well. It doesn't have to be religious, or it could be religious. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It could be spiritual. Regardless, we don't have any free will. We are a product of our environment, of quantum mechanics, of the universe, and everything that came before us. And we are all going to be the influencers of the next product of the future, of whatever is going to come out to be in the future. Cause and effect, I guess. Now, I've been thinking about this theory for a while. Damn, my beard is so whack right now. This leaves me with one question. If everything is already predetermined, if quantum mechanics and all these particles have their own rules that they're following that bring us to where we are right now, if we are all the totality of the universe before us, and if we really don't have any free will, what does our consciousness truly look like? Or if you want to get spiritual, what does your soul or your spirit actually look like? And what I mean by that, not like what it physically looks like. I'm talking about, say that we were to take out all physical or human experienced biases out of the picture, just take it out, subtract it, and never happen. What does the consciousness that resides over here, or my soul that resides here or here, wherever you want to believe the soul resides, what does that truly look like? What values does it embody? Does it even embody a value? Does free will even apply to consciousness? Is us having a form of consciousness, or maybe even a spirituality, the reason why we have the illusion of free will, or maybe even to some extent have free will? Is that the reason why we're not behaving like bacteria or animals who just do what they have to do to survive, who just play their role in nature? We're gonna talk about that in the sequel of this video. I don't know when I'll put that out. Let me know what you guys think about this theory. Let me know how bad you want the sequel. Let me know if you disagree and why you disagree. I would absolutely love talking about this with you guys. Hit me in the DM. I'll put my Instagram and my Twitter at the end of this, obviously. But yes, I want to talk about this. I love this theory. I would love to hear any objections you guys may have, or why you might agree. But anyways, I have to get going. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, then like it. If you don't like it, then you should probably like it as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to wash your hands, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.